Hello everybody, it's Father Richie for the final video of the year. Happy New Year everybody. This is going out on the 31st of 2020, which has probably been the worst year of my life. It sucked. And I don't magically think tomorrow's going to bring in a new dawn or nothing. It's actually just the next day. It's gonna suck too, probably. But anyways, this video, I'm going to show my 12 best used record purchases, my favorite new album of 2020, and my favorite reissue of 2020. So we're going to just jump right into it. And these are not in number 1 to 12. They're pretty close to in the order that I purchased them. And the first one is the Grateful Dead, their third album, the one I call the E-I-E-I-O album, because I don't know how to say this. I mean, I guess if I really tried, I could figure it out. It's a really good album. It's not as psychedelic as the second one, but it does have psychedelic stuff on it. St. Stephen, it starts off just fantastic. China Cat, Sunflower, I'm not gonna. Anyways, this is an original Grateful Dead. My second one is the West Coast Pop Art Experimental Band, Part 1. This is actually their second album. It was the first album on Reprise Records. And this is a LA band that never really made it. And with a name like that, you kind of know why. I mean, it's a terrible name. It's a good album. I don't think it's as good as their third one. The third one is my favorite. It's got a cover on here of Help I'm a Rock, which to me is it's not a good choice for a cover. I mean, I like the song. It's a Mothers of Invention song. And I like the version that the Mothers of Invention do. And these guys really don't add anything new to it. So it was kind of a waste to me. Third one is the Superfine Dandelion. This was the first album I bought ever on Mainstream Records. My goal at the beginning of the year was to buy one album on Mainstream Records a month. And after, and then I looked into it and I saw how much people want for them. I ended up getting 2. So it's every 6 months I get one. But anyways, this band, I believe, is from Arizona. And it's a really good, I dig it a lot. It's got some weird song, Janie's Tomb. It's his girlfriend's dead up in his bedroom. It's pretty weird. But yeah, this guy here, he looks like a tweaker. And I believe one of these guys went on to the Tubes. But yeah, good album. Good 60s. The next one is the 80s band, Spaceman 3, Sound of Confusion, their first album. This is actually a second press, but they used the same, it has the same dead wax, the writing in the dead wax. So it's just a second press with the same printer, master, whatever you call it. Stunty helped me here. But yeah, fantastic, noisy, Psych. I dig it. Just fantastic. It's a band that I was late to. I mean, you can't buy everything, Next one is the Stooges Funhouse. This was the only Stooges album that I did not have. It's the gatefold. And this is a first press from, I believe it's a first press. And I forget where. It's a UK. No, it's not a UK. France. Printed in France, it says. But anyways, the Stooges' second album. Great album. And along those lines, I did pick up another Iggy-related item from Bomp Records. And it is a test pressing of this single I'm Sick of You. And it is signed by James Williamson. The next one is the Crass, The Feeding of the 5,000. This is their first album. And this is actually a second press of this album. The second press is the one that I wanted. Because on the first press, the first song is... They wouldn't press it with that song on there. So they decided to just leave that. If it's a 1.5-minute song, they left the first 1.5 minutes just playing. It was nothing. And I didn't want that. I wanted the one with the song. I guess the printing company were offended by the religious connotations of the song. The next one is New York Thrash. And this is punk rock from the late, maybe like 78 to 81 or so. And people are going, oh, thrash is like mid-80s heavy metal. Well, actually, no. Thrash was a term used by the punk community before the term was hijacked. And that happens all the time, you know. And it's got Bad Brains, Adrenaline OD, the Beastie Boys, and False Prophets, and the Nihilistics. Really good comp of the hardcore kind of, the more gritty punk rock, not the arty stuff that everybody claims is the New York punk. You know, the Talking Heads and all that, which I'm a fan of. The next one is the Death in June, and this is Nada. I thought this was the last album I needed of theirs in the 80s. It turns out, no, they have a couple of others that I do not have. Roswell Ryan did a really good Death in June video, and he actually talks about all these knives and all the skull and whatever. This is it's a good album. It's not my favorite by any stretch. It's kind of a transitional album. It has some industrial type songs. It has some that are more of the neo-folk leanings that he went into later. But the acoustic ones do have drums, and you know they do have accompaniment. The second song, I believe it's the second song, The Calling, it sounds like a Depeche Mode song, you know, so it's a mixed bag. And I love Depeche Mode, don't get me wrong. The next one, and this could be my find of the year, it's The Growing Concern, mainstream, mono, demonstration, DJ copy, whatever you want to call it. I love this album. Some people don't like it, but I dig it. Got 2 female singers, and I think one of the dudes sings. Yeah, the lead guitarist. Or no, the guitarist. Actually, 2 of the dudes. So there's 4 singers in the band. But yeah, great stuff. I mean, I think this is great all the way through. Psyche Derek did a video on his mainstream. I think his top 10 mainstream albums, and this was his number 1. So yeah, this is a fantastic find. And to find it on mono, great stuff. The next one is St. Vitus, Hollow's Victim. I believe this is their second album. Came out in 85. I didn't have any St. Vitus. I wasn't really big into them when they came out. I wish I would have. I mean, they're local. They're LA. But yeah, this was a VCLT from the Vinyl Archivist. And this is one of my favorite used albums that I got this year. And yeah, I think it's a first press. So yeah, fantastic stuff. Thank you, Patrick. The next one is Rocky Erickson and the Aliens, the Evil One. This is fantastic stuff. And I think this was recorded in 79, shortly after Rocky Erickson was released from a mental hospital. He was being held in against his will. I mean, he was getting the whole shock treatment and everything. And yeah, this is it's got some pretty crazy, like, I think of demons and Creature with the Atom Brain. And, you know, it's got like horror connotations, and It's a good album. And the last is the other half. The Randy Holden band, who went on to Iron Butterfly. No, Blue Cheer. Man, I blanked. Blue Cheer. And then he did a solo album that was very popular with the kids. Population 2. Noble Records just did a reissue of that album. I wish I would have jumped on it. But anyways, this is great. The introduction is ridiculous. But other than that, it's a great album. And yeah, 60s Psych. Greatness. And I got 2 more left. And I'm going to show what I feel is the best reissue of the year. And it's End of the Night, 1976 to 1983. It's a comp of punk rock songs from those years, the early years of punk, from Detroit. And it was pressed at Third Man Pressing in Detroit, which does great work. It was originally going to be a Record Store Day, UK Record Store Day, but since Record Store Day was canceled or postponed, they dropped it. And I was watching Grown Man Records. It's a stream that is on every Friday, and I was watching it, and he was showing this record. Yeah, I just picked this up, and I go, oh, wow, and he was talking about it. I looked it up, I was watching it on my laptop, and I got my phone, I looked it up on my phone, and I bought it while I was watching the show. But yeah, great stuff. There's 2 wanker songs it's a double album, and there's only 2 wanker songs out of the whole thing. So, I mean, it's you can't argue with that, And finally, what I think is the best album of the year, it's Nod and this Portuguese gentleman, who I'm not going to pronounce his name. It's kind of ambient, which I'm not really a big fan of ambient. Nod, they tend, not all, but a lot of their albums, they get into grooves. And this is no exception, except this has more of a lot of percussion. I believe this guy's a percussionist, and it's fantastic. Nod are one of my favorite current bands. This is a record that a lot of the audiophile types, or the types like world music, the Mazzies of the world, they would really like this, and it's fantastic stuff. And that's, I think, the best album of 2020. And that's it. Hope everybody has a happy new year. And take care. Go Jets.